Hey, how's it going everybody? It's Tanner here and welcome back to another Ninjago video here on the channel. In today's video I wanted to go ahead and do something a little bit different, and that's what we're going to be doing here today. So basically I had an idea to put the ninja against the Avengers and see which team would prevail as the strongest overall. Now, let me just clarify that what I mean here is we're going to be putting the 6 ninja of Ninjago, of course Kai, Cole, Jay, Zane, Lloyd, and Nia, against the original 6 Avengers, those being Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor, Black Widow, and Hawkeye. Now, I figured a lot of you guys would probably go ahead and say, oh, you know, where's Avengers like Black Panther or Spider-Man? Well, considering I wanted it to be an even 6-on-6 battle here, I figured I'd just go ahead and play around with the original 6 Avengers featured in the very first Avengers movie. In case you guys don't know, or in case you guys really haven't seen any of my videos before, I'm a big Ninjago fan as well as a big Marvel fan, specifically the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I really don't dabble in the comics at all, at least not very much. So a lot of the reasonings I'm going to put for at least the characters coming from the Avengers side will basically be specifically oriented from the MCU films. So anywhere from the first Iron Man all the way up to Captain Marvel. Of course, Avengers Endgame is not out yet. It comes out very soon though, in less than a month. And that's another reason why I'm basically doing this video now. Of course, I want to go ahead and capitalize on the Avengers Endgame hype. And I figured what better way to do that with, of course, you guys, the audience, is putting the original 6 Avengers, who will play a very big role in Avengers Endgame, against the 6 ninja of Ninjago and see which team overall stands out as being better, or at least in terms of this video, which team would most likely win in a fight if the two ever were to cross over. Now, I don't really think that these guys are going to be crossing over anytime soon. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and say that they 100% will not be ever crossing over ever. I figured this would just be a fun video to do where we go ahead and put one member from each team against each other one at a time and determine which one of those will win in a fight. So basically, once again, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be putting one ninja against one Avenger, talking about who would win and why if they were to ever face off, and at the end of the video we'll tally it up and we'll see which team overall is stronger. Another thing to keep in mind when watching this video is that this is strictly my own opinion, so everything that you hear will be based on my own thoughts and my own speculation and all that. You guys might think differently, and that's fine. Feel free to leave a comment talking about who you think would win when we go through these here one by one. I had a lot of fun making this one, and you know, thinking about which one of these characters would come out on top was very fun to do. So yeah, here we go. Let's take a look at our first match. Alright, so Lloyd versus Captain America. Now we're going to go ahead and talk about Lloyd's benefits first. Basically, he is the green ninja, so in the context of Ninjago, he is the, in a sense, the superior ninja. He's very strong, he's very powerful. He defeated the ultimate evil by himself, using a lot of mystical abilities and a lot of mystical powers and all that. He's basically the equivalent of the first Spinjitzu Master, who in the context of Ninjago is the equivalent of basically everything, the most powerful being on the planet. So it would make a lot of sense that Lloyd would be very, very powerful. However, in his current state, he's really not all that powerful. He just has one elemental power of energy. If Lloyd was going against Captain America, maybe when Lloyd was in his golden power state, I could see Cap having a very hard time fighting against the Green Ninja. However, in this context, I have a feeling that Captain America might go ahead and overpower Lloyd just by a little bit. Captain America, in terms of the MCU films, has gone quite a long way since the beginning. He basically has fought several of them, and he's even taken on Thanos. Granted, he didn't really win that fight, but considering how he's not afraid to fight powerful beings, I figured he wouldn't really have a problem fighting against Lloyd if these two were to ever come face to face. Of course, Cap is, you know, running on the super soldier serum, which was introduced to him during World War II, and speaking of that, Cap is strictly a soldier. He fights for freedom, he fights for what he believes is right, and he's not afraid to stand up to anyone, so you know, bravery is definitely something that Captain America has over Lloyd. Lloyd's brave as well. I'm not saying Lloyd's not brave or doesn't show signs of bravery. I'm just saying in this lineup, Captain America would probably be the superior fighter. Now, both do have their strengths, again, and both of them do have their weaknesses, but at the end of the day, I'm going to go ahead and say that Captain America would probably win this fight. That is, if Lloyd does not have his golden power. If Lloyd has golden power, then yeah, he'd probably overpower Cap, but for the purposes of this video and looking at the current standpoint of Lloyd, I'm going to go ahead and say that Captain America would win. Next up, Kai versus Iron Man. So starting off with Kai, again, he is the elemental master of fire. Now right away we're looking at a potential victory here for Kai because Tony does have, you know, his suits, and I don't really know exactly if Kai could potentially melt any of the materials that go into Tony's suits. I'm going to go ahead and say that he really can't, because I imagine Tony would have gone ahead and basically upgraded his armor to the point where he can withstand pretty much anything. As we saw in Infinity War, the nanotech suit is heavily durable and can basically fight against anything. Tony held his own against Thanos on Titan, so I can see maybe where this would go in terms of, you know, actually Tony securing a victory over Kai. Then again, I really don't know if Kai could go ahead and make, you know, an amount of fire hot enough to go ahead and even damage Tony's armor, especially in the current state. Kai is super powerful as well, though, in the context of Ninjago. He's taken on many various villains, and again, his firepower is not something to be taken lightly. However, Tony does have a lot of technology on his side, and despite Tony not having superpowers at all, I believe that his amount of intelligence and the way that he makes his suits, especially with the nanotech suit from Infinity War, I believe he will not have a difficult time fighting against Kai, especially considering the personalities of the two would probably make Kai lose his temper and basically lose track of the fight and maybe potentially lose balance in that way. And while Tony does have a lot of the same personality traits, I'm going to go ahead and say that Iron Man would probably secure a victory if these two were to ever face off. Again, I can see this going both ways, but for the purposes of this video, I'm going to go ahead and give a point to the Avengers. Next up, we have Cole versus Hulk. Now, just hear me out on this one, okay? So, the reason I put these two together is because they are both the basic muscle of the respective teams. Cole, obviously, is the physically strongest ninja, while Hulk is potentially the physically strongest Avenger. I mean, there is some debate going on in there as to whether or not his current state can go ahead and overpower any of the Avengers if they were to fight against each other. And for the purposes of this video, I do believe that Cole at this point is way stronger than the Hulk, especially considering, you know, where we left Hulk in Infinity War, where he was weakened and basically wouldn't come out, and he was basically just Bruce Banner at that point. So I can see how Cole would easily overpower the Hulk. Now let's just say that Hulk was in his prime and Cole, you know, basically was in his prime as well, and they fought each other. I still believe Cole would win. Now, Cole is insanely strong, and we've seen him take on multiple large villains and enemies. He's taken on large robots, he's taken on large stone warriors. So I don't believe he'd have a problem facing off against the Hulk and securing a victory. And while Hulk is easily one of the strongest Avengers, in the context of the movies right now, he's really not at the top of his game. I mean, we have yet to see what Avengers Endgame will bring for his character, but I'm going to go ahead and say that Cole would win if these two were to ever fight for a lot of reasons. I mean, it might seem ridiculous to see Cole going up against the Hulk, but considering how Cole does have his elemental earth powers at hand, he could easily trap Hulk in some sort of cage, and, you know, especially if the Hulk is not in his most powerful state right now, he wouldn't really be able to overpower that. So for this round, I'm going to go ahead and give a point to the ninja and say that Cole would win. Next up, Zane versus Hawkeye. Now real quick, I want to go ahead and talk about why I did not put Zane against Tony. A lot of people might say, oh, that's a no-brainer because they're both robot-based heroes. They both have, you know, robotic powers. The reason I put Zane against Hawkeye in this case is because Zane practically is Hawkeye right now in the Ninjago show, in the sense that both of them use similar weapons. Of course, Hawkeye's signature weapon is his bow and arrow, and right now Zane has a similar weapon in the show. Starting with Season 8, he went ahead and obtained a crossbow, and he basically uses that now as his primary weapon, and Hawkeye, of course, uses that as well. So I think it'd be cool to put two archers up against each other. Now, this may seem like a no-brainer, but Zane would easily overpower Hawkeye. Hawkeye is not the most powerful Avenger out there. He gets a lot of jokes targeted his way, especially for how he's basically just a guy with a bow and arrow fighting alongside super soldiers and thunder gods and all that. So it's easy to see how Hawkeye would easily get overpowered by Zane, especially considering how Zane has countless abilities, including many to do with his ice powers. So right there, Hawkeye is kind of at a disadvantage because he's fighting a superpowered being and he himself does not have physical superpowers. Again, if Zane held back and simply used his crossbow, I think it'd be safe to say that Hawkeye could win, considering how Hawkeye does have a lot more experience with a crossbow than Zane does. But if Zane were, of course, to use all of his power, which he currently has, he'd easily overpower Hawkeye, which is why I'm going to give Zane the point and give the ninja one more point for this victory. Next up, here's one that I was really looking forward to talk about, Jay versus Thor. Now, the reason I put these two together is obviously because they are both lightning and thunder-based heroes. Jay, of course, controls lightning, and Thor is the god of thunder. And again, if we were to go ahead and put these two against each other, I don't think it's going to be I don't think there's going to be any debate over who would actually win. Thor would easily overpower Jay and secure that victory, no questions asked. If you want my reasoning behind that, Thor basically is the god of thunder. He is one of the most powerful characters in the MCU right now, and he's taken a lot worse than simple lightning. He's taken a dying star to the chest while trying to forge Stormbreaker in Avengers Infinity War. He's been through a lot, so I can see how Thor would easily overpower Jay. While Jay has been through a lot as well, his lightning powers are nowhere near as strong as Thor's thunder powers. It's easy to see that. I mean, there might be some debate in there, considering how Jay is one of the, in a sense, one of the most powerful ninja out there, but Thor, he's easily more powerful with his craft than Jay is with his powers, and you can put the two against each other and see that for certain. Thor has Stormbreaker. Stormbreaker is one of the most powerful weapons in the MCU right now. It basically withstood the power of all 6 Infinity Stones, so I don't think Thor would have any problem facing off against Jay and securing a victory there. Again, I'm not saying Jay isn't a skilled fighter, I'm just saying that Thor is a much better fighter and is much more powerful than Jay is, especially considering, in terms of their elemental powers, if you put both of them against each other, lightning versus thunder, thunder is going to be stronger. So with that being said, I'm going to go ahead and give a point towards the Avengers and say that Thor would easily win. And lastly here we have Nia versus Black Widow. Now the reason I put these two together is because they're both very skilled in martial arts and hand-to-hand combat, and I think it'd be cool to see them go up against each other. Nia, of course, has a long history in Ninjago of using her martial arts to her advantage. My favorite battle of hers is when she goes up against Klaus in Season 4. That was easily one of the better battles that she's been in, and that was basically all just hand-to-hand martial arts, and I think her going up against Black Widow would be very cool to see. Of course, Black Widow does have the electric little bracelets on her that can go ahead and, electrify enemies, as well as, she has basic handguns, so that's a plus, I suppose. Nia, on the other hand, has water as her elemental power, so I can see this going one of two ways. Basically, Widow could go ahead and use her lightning or the electric bracelets to go ahead and electrify Nia's water and basically cripple her that way, or I could see Nia using her water to basically flood out Black Widow, as well as, allow her to not even get close enough to use her bracelets or any of her other weapons, such as her batons or basically anything else. Again, Black Widow does not have any actual superpowers, she's basically just a really good fighter, and Nia does have powers, so in the same way that I put Zane over Hawkeye, I'm going to go ahead and say that Nia would probably win against Black Widow, specifically because Black Widow does not really have any powers while Nia, actually does. And while the two are very skilled in hand-to-hand combat, if that was the only factor in this fight, I would say that Black Widow would win, just because she's had more experience with this, but considering how Nia has elemental powers on her side, I'm going to go ahead and give the point to Nia and say that she would secure this victory over Black Widow. Again, I think it would be a very close fight, and you're free to disagree with me all you want on that, but in my opinion, Nia would probably win over Black Widow, so again, I'm going to go ahead and give a point towards the ninja. So now we're at the end of this here. We have 3 points for the Avengers and 3 points for the ninja, so it's pretty much a tie now, isn't it? Just recapping the fights, Lloyd versus Cap, Cap would win. Kai versus Iron Man would secure the victory there. Cole versus Hulk, I think it'd be cool if Cole actually won that. Zane versus Hawkeye, I'm going to give the point to Zane. Jay versus Thor, Thor would easily overpower Jay. And Nia versus Black Widow, I'm going to give Nia the victory there. So yeah, we have a 3v3 here. So that's pretty cool when you think about it. I mean, in terms of the actual teams fighting against each other, I don't think it's, any secret that the Avengers would easily win against the Ninja, considering how the Avengers do have more characters to fight alongside of, but if the Ninja were to go ahead and secure the other Elemental Masters and basically fight that way, I don't know, I think it would be pretty even. But in terms of these one-on-one battles, both of these scores were pretty even there. Both teams have 3 wins under their belts, so again, I'm going to go ahead and say for the purposes of this video that the fight was a tie. But again, if you look at the larger scale of the teams, the Avengers would probably win. So thanks a lot for watching this video, guys. That'll just about do it for this one. I just thought this would be a fun little video to do. I mean, the Avengers versus the Ninja is something that, again, probably will never happen and something that we'll probably never see. But this topic was very fun to talk about. Again, nothing really related to any upcoming Ninjago stories. And again, Avengers Endgame is just around the corner, so I cannot wait for that. And again, this video was just really fun for me to do personally. And I hope you'll leave a comment talking about who would win in a fight. You know, make your own scenarios down below in the comments. That'd be cool to see. I'd love to go ahead and read what you guys come up with for that. But in terms of this video, that'll just about do it for my thoughts. So again, feel free to leave your own down below. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. If you enjoyed the video, as always, don't forget to give it a huge thumbs up rating. And as always, be sure to hit the subscribe button if you've not done so already. Once again, guys, the comment section is there for the various discussions that you would like to have regarding this topic, or if you just had a comment of a general nature, that's fine as well. The links in the description will lead you over towards my other forms of social media, whether it be my Twitter, my Instagram, my Patreon, or my merch. Be sure to support me on all those platforms if you would like to. With that being said, once again, guys, thank you so much for watching this video here. My name is TannerFishies, and with that, I bid you farewell.